What is up? Welcome back. 2023-2024 NBA season previews. Today we're going to be looking at the Los Angeles Lakers. But first, my name is Matt Hanifan. I'm here with Jiarmani. Man, what's going on?
Nothing much. Appreciate you getting up so early to be able to record these, man. We gotta talk about. We're talking about the Lakers first, I believe. So I was gonna make a pun about Phoenix, but we're talking about the Lakers.
Talking about the Lakers first. But talk about one of the more active teams in the offseason, like most active teams in the offseason. Obviously, like LeBron James and Anthony Davis are the head of the snake. Mm-hmm. But they did a lot to not only bring back the guys around the margins, or at least guys who helped them last year, but they also improved with guys who they got in free agency. But like, first off, like, what was your take on what happened with them last offseason? How do you think that transpired last season, and how do you think that transpired this offseason?
I think that they finally started turning up near the tail end of the season. Like, those guys had the second best record in the West, post trade deadline or post All-Star break, whatever you want to cut it down to. But pretty much, like, those guys turned it up, and they looked like one of the best 7 seeds that any team, or probably the worst 7 seed matchups that any team could have asked for, with like a battle tested team led by LeBron and AD. And obviously, like, the main thing we looked at with this Lakers team is, like, you already have, like, the superstar formula there. Like, you have the duo that was won you a championship in LeBron and AD. It was just more about getting the other guys around them and really start like tuning the rest of the roster out. Like, you got Austin Reeves, who seems like he's going to be poised. I think everybody's anticipating him to take some sort of a leap a little bit offensively. He showed out in the playoffs. Even during that Nuggets series, he was playing well. But yeah, obviously they got hit by the Nuggets train that ultimately went to the NBA Finals. I remember watching that series, Game 1, like Jokic hitting the damn crazy shit over AD, like one-legged 3-pointers and stuff like that, you know. But I was
doing that all playoffs.
Yeah, so I'm like, geez, like this isn't a Nuggets preview. Like, my God, the Joker is just fucking, like, probably the best basketball player in the world right now, you can argue. But nevertheless, the Lakers, they did get better. They retained Hachimura and Reeves when people thought they weren't going to be able to retain both those guys. They brought back D'Lo on an extension, and then brought in a lot of guys who can who pretty much play defense or shoot or something rather. They got Gabe Vincent away from Miami. They got I forget who else.
My guy, Gabe Vincent.
You know, but I like the moves that they did. They pretty much are they once again are putting themselves in a better position than they were last year. So I think this Lakers team is probably going to be the best iteration of the AD and Bron era, potentially. Obviously, I'm not sure they'll be able to capture the magic from the 2020 season though. But pretty much, like, because you got to think about it, the year after they won the championship, they got significantly older. They brought in like Carmelo Anthony. They kept around Dwight Howard. I think they even still had JaVale McGee at that time. Just like those guys like had an average age of like 30 something, or like 33, 34. And then the year after, AD was going down. LeBron led the league in scoring and everything like that. But I think he missed a significant amount of time. So, and then
last year got hurt, I think, in 21 as well.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
I think it was a groin injury, something like that. Yeah,
probably. And then I know, like, they lose to the Suns in the first round that season. But last year they make the trades for Hachimura and get D'Lo and guys really start coming into their own. And then they go on that great run to go into the play-in, and then make it all the way to the conference finals, beating the Grizzlies, beating the Warriors, you know. But nevertheless, I like the way this Lakers team's looking.
43-39 last year. You mentioned they had the second best record in the West after the trade deadline, after the All-Star break. They went 18-8 after the deadline. They were third in defense, 15th in offense. They brought back Reeves to using his early bird rights, which is something that, like, they should get more credit for, because other teams with cap space like the Spurs or the Rockets could have offered some bloated contract extension, and the Lakers would have had to pay more on those final 2 years. But it wouldn't be a super big deal because they didn't have anyone, I think, other than AD and maybe Braun on. No, it wasn't Braun. I think other than like AD on their payroll in 26, 27. So it wasn't like a huge problem, but it was something that it would have obviously cost them an extra 15-20 million dollars. So that's something that they should get more credit for it, just at least in retrospect, because that's $40 million on the final 2 years of those contracts that could have been added on there potentially.
If you ask me, I think if Reeves found his way to San Antonio, that would have been really good for him. Like that pairing, I would have really liked that pairing, but that's just my 2 cents.
It's not a bad fit for him. It's not a bad fit for sure. They did bring in Gabe Vincent, as you mentioned, my guy from Miami. 3 years, $33 million. I think he was a starting point guard on 2 teams who made deep playoff runs. One went to the finals. One came 1 game away from making the finals. He was an integral part of both those playoff runs, despite some of the inconsistencies there with him. But I think he's an excellent defensive player given his size. 6'2", has I think a fairly big wingspan, like 6'5" or 6'6". He's excellent at the point of attack defensively. His shot's a little inconsistent, but he's worked around it over the last couple of years, changed his form a little bit, developed a little bit of a dribble pull-up jump shot, developed a little bit of an in-between game. Still not the best finisher, but like he's still a fairly solid player, a guy who can play off the ball next to LeBron, and give him juice on the ball when they need him to, which I think is something that they were lacking over the last couple of years from that point guard spot. They retained Rui Hachimura, who like was one of their best players in the playoff run, and that's including Austin Reeves. I didn't think many people expected him to just not miss at all during the playoffs last year. So the fact that they were getting, I think it was like 3 for 51, something like that. So they did a good job there. I'm surprised they brought back Russell, just based off of what happened towards the tail end of that playoff run. It just felt like they both kind of need to go their separate ways. He kind of played himself out of the rotation because he was playing defensively, and that kind of bled into his offense a little bit. But 2 for 36 isn't like a terrible contract for him. I think there's an option on the last year of that. They signed Taurean Prince to the biannual extension, which I think is one of the best moves this offseason, just from any team's perspective. I mean, he's a complimentary 3-and-D wing that you could put out there for 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes a night, and he'll definitely make an impact alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis, and especially helps them in those lineups where LeBron's not even on the floor. Just helps kind of fill in those gaps. Christian Wood for the 2-year minimum. I know he was rumored for Los Angeles and Miami. He ultimately signed with the Lakers. I think that's just a good buy low move. Like they also just needed at the time, they needed to back up big behind Anthony Davis, and their front court rotation was pretty thin. So the fact that they're getting Christian Wood, who I mean has a good offensive pedigree for the minimum, like it's a low risk, high reward move. Jackson Hayes was another one of those guys that they got in free agency. I liked him when he was in New Orleans. I know there was a few rough patches there, but again, he was another guy that they just got on the 2-year minimum, which is like, that's just good. I think you'll get a good return on investment. He's a hyper athletic 23-year-old 7-footer. Like there's room to work with that. Especially if he flashes on the defensive end more than Christian Wood. They got Cam Reddish. They drafted Jalen Hood-Schifino with the, I think, 17th pick. And he was a guy who I was like not super duper high on coming out of the draft, if I'm being honest. I mean, there was a little bit of inconsistency with his decision making, but I think he's still a good prospect for someone who could fit into this team. The only, I guess, issue is I think it'll take an extra year for him. Like, I think he's still a couple years away. I still think there's some development to be had there. And so I think when you're asking, like, hey, be patient for a rookie's development for a team with LeBron and Anthony Davis, it's a little bit tough. It's a little bit of a tough ask to their fan base, but I still think they have a deep enough team, a good enough rotation. Jared Vanderbilt, there's still a little question with him and like where he fits with this team in terms of like what kind of lineups work with him best. Because I know the Vanderbilt AD lineups from last year were a little bit murky in the playoffs. It felt like sometimes the Lakers were playing 4-on-5, but I think they can use them to work around that. But I think this was one of like the best off seasons. I think. Am I missing anybody? I
don't think so.
But regardless, I mean, I like what they I like what they can potentially get from Max Christie. It felt like he was another one of those guys who was like a one and done. I think he was one and done in college. He was a little bit of a development, like they need to develop him a little bit more. I like what I've seen from him this preseason and over summer league is kind of like a shot creator. He had a lot of on-ball reps, so I think that should help him not only for the short term but for the long term. But this is one of the best teams in the West, man. I don't feel crazy saying that, especially after what they did last year.
Yeah,
tail end of last year.
The only thing that would scare me is obviously the health that you're going to get from mainly LeBron and AD. LeBron played in 55 games this past season. I don't have the exact number for Anthony Davis. I'm going to see if I can pull that up right now. But yeah, and even like with age and stuff like that, like I feel like those kinds of things, injuries would come natural. Yeah, AD played 56 games, but both of them were averaging a healthy like amount, like well over 25 points a game, like being productive. So the production, I don't see LeBron like going in his age 38 or age 39 season. I don't think he's gonna slow down. Like I feel like LeBron's gonna be like the one case, bless you, where
thank you.
LeBron's gonna be the one case where Father Time is no longer gonna be undefeated because LeBron's probably gonna pull like some stuff out the hat and play till what pretty much is gonna be productive for the rest of his career, no matter whether it's another 2 years, 3 years, who knows.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm worried about is that how are the Lakers going to be able to play, say, with those guys out of the lineup on for like an extended period of time if those guys don't manage to remain healthy? But that's like the only issue I have with this Lakers team, at least right at the moment going into the season. But other than that, I can see them being like a top 4 seed in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like that's like I would anticipate right now just like at the absolute lowest, especially if you get like 60 plus games from LeBron and AD, and then like how those guys play without either one of those guys in the lineup on any given night. I feel like that would be very telling of how the Lakers are going to be able to play this season, because no matter all the roster moves that they make, I feel like it starts and ends with LeBron and AD if they want
to. Right. That I think that you're right. I think that also just like kind of goes without saying, just because of how important those two guys are. Especially like with Anthony, like how good Anthony Davis was last season, at least at the tail end of last season on the defensive end. Because it's like when they went 18-8 or 18-9, like with that stretch, LeBron only played 11 games. Like he hardly played at all because due to injury. And so the fact that they were able to kind of stem the tide, and then you insert him in the playoffs. I know he was dealing with a foot injury, and so he wasn't like fully 100%. They were still incredibly productive, incredibly impactful, and a lot of that was because of Anthony Davis and what he was doing on the defensive end. Just as like a rim protector, he was all over the place. He was covering up for a lot of things, and he was doing a phenomenal job as well. Like it was an incredibly tough possession every single time. That's why the Lakers were third in defense. Like they were incredibly sturdy on that end of the floor, and AD deserves a ton of credit for that. I like what you said about like I think they're a top 4 team in the West. I do agree. The Western Conference is a bloodbath. Let's just preface by saying that there's a lot of variance with a ton of teams, including the Lakers if they somehow get injured. Knock on wood that doesn't happen, but because I don't want anybody to get hurt. But like Denver's obviously going to be in the discussion. Phoenix potentially is in that discussion if they can stay healthy. Golden State with Steph, Clay, and Dre, in addition to Chris Paul, they're going to be in the discussion, even though I'm not as high on them as probably the consensus. The Grizzlies, even with draw out 25 games, are going to be in the discussion. Like there's teams that are going to be in the discussion for like a top 4 spot. What are some other teams? Like maybe Minnesota, maybe New Orleans if Zion and Brandon Ingram stay healthy.
Yeah.
Maybe the Clippers if Paul George and Kawhi Leonard stay healthy. Like there's teams who can fight for that spot, and the Lakers are definitely in that conversation. I probably see them, if I'm being honest, I might actually have them as a top 3 seed. Like again, this is assuming that LeBron and AD are healthy for a full season.
Yeah, that's something I can absolutely argue. Especially from what it looks like, especially when you were bringing up AD and how he seems like he was starting to like really come into his own as like the 1A to now LeBron's 1B, because I think like
He's an
the
anchor
way,
on the defensive end. One of the best
yeah,
defenders on the planet, if not the best, when he's playing like he did last year, at least at the tail end.
he's finally starting to play like how everybody anticipated him to play. Like pretty much he was the monster that he was back in with the Pelicans. And I feel like the thing is he finally embraced being a center in like today's NBA, because I remember there was a time he wanted to be power forward. Maybe he still wants to play as a power forward, but that kind of like I feel like hindered them a little bit, because like they really couldn't ever get like some solid like center production. Or what, like think about it, when they had like Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, like that big man like grouping, and they had AD slide to the 4, like it was great for him. But now it's at the time, it's like you're in the prime of your career, you're 30 years old, and like you just proved that you're one of the best defensive players once again. So I
still don't
feel,
know if he loves it though.
yeah, probably, maybe not. I'm not sure. I'll take your word for it. But
I'm not saying he does. I'm just not sure. I'm not sold that he's like all of a sudden he likes it. Maybe he does. I don't know.
yeah, or maybe it's just like he's finally like just kind of like embracing it, I guess, because like the Lakers aren't like, even with LeBron playing out of his mind, if the Lakers don't have AD how he was last year, then the Lakers aren't going anywhere. Because think about it, like you got, like we can both agree that like his defense was integral to them getting as far as they did in the playoffs.
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%. No question.
So that's why I look at it like, yeah, you anticipate Austin Reeves going to take a leap. You anticipate like guys being able to contribute, like Hachimura and even Russell, and even if Russell plays well, and then it doesn't end up, because he may seem like somebody they may trade at the deadline if they were going to trade somebody anyway. Just your point of view, if they feel like they need a split. But I do anticipate that if like pretty much it's very contingent on how if AD is going to be able to keep that momentum going on that defensive side of the ball and make sure the Lakers are a top 5 defense for the entire season.
Yeah, I mean the Russell thing. I mean he's looked really good this preseason. Like by really good, I think saying he looks really good might be a little bit of an understatement. I mean he said, he had a quote, you may have seen it, but he wants to be like Derek White, your guy Derek White. And so it was just like, I mean, listen, Derek, that's not a bad player that you want to be if you're like someone just based on his pedigree defensively. Derek White's one of the best guard defenders in the NBA. There's no question about it. And I think now that he's in Boston, it's only amplified that. He has a great supporting cast around him. But if you can get like maybe like a 50 or 60 game sample of D'Angelo Russell consistently playing like high level defense on and off the ball, as well as what he's done offensively, like you have yourself a really good player that will definitely be an important player in a playoff stretch. I don't know if you're going to get that over a full season.
Yeah,
that remains to be seen. We've only seen it in preseason, and I guess if you're the Lakers, you hope that something like that happens for a full game, or for a full 82 game season. And with the games that Russell plays, like you hope for that to happen. We don't really know until that actually happens if it'll happen or not. But he's looked really good, man. But yeah, no, you're right on it with AD. There's no way they make it that far without him in terms of just like what he was able to provide on the defensive end, and even a little bit on the offensive end. Because there's a lot of like supplementary production that he needed to fill, at least at that center spot on both ends of the floor.
Yeah.
Do you think this team goes on another Western Conference Finals playoff run, or at least like it's difficult to project this far out?
Yeah.
Will happen. Like, do you think there's a possibility of it happening?
If I do think so. Do I think they are like finals like contenders? At least at the moment, I don't think so. But again, that's that remains to be seen. We got to see how the season starts and everything. I may have a difference of opinion by like the turn of the year, but I do think they do have the potential to at least make some noise again in the playoffs, especially like this is obviously like I feel like it's a little bit night and day with like the supporting cast around them, and then getting a full like another season of Austin Reeves, getting a full season of having Rui Hachimura and D'Lo with the Lakers. I feel that those guys will be able to be be able to make it far. I can at least see them making some noise in the playoffs for sure, especially like with pretty much LeBron is getting any younger and he wants to get championship number 5. So I mean, I feel like that's the mission, you know.
Yeah, whenever there's a healthy LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I feel like this team has a shot.
I'll even go
as that's like just in simplest terms.
Yeah, as I'll say like a final thought or a bold prediction. If Anthony Davis can play more than 70 games, or not 70 games, if he can play more than 65, like the minimum for awards, he'll be an MVP finalist.
You like by an MVP finalist, you mean like top 5, top 3, like what?
I'll say top 3. Keep it bold.
Top 3. Okay, it's not a bad take. Please go check out our other NBA season previews for more of Jiarmani's bold predictions.
Absolutely.
He certainly has had a couple that have shocked me.
We have to make a list so we can like go back in the future.
Huh?
I got to make like a list. I got to like keep track of all these just so we can go back in the future. You know, you had AD being a top 3 MVP candidate if he played more than 65 games. Just gotta like interrogate me, you know.
I mean, yeah, he could. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Although he does play in the same conference as the Joker. So
yeah. So I mean, he got his work cut out for him. But that's why I said he's going to be top 3. I ain't say nothing about him winning it. But
fair enough.
He's going to be top 3.
Fair enough. I don't have a bold prediction for you, which is on brand because I'm not great with bold predictions on the spot, even though I've had time to think about this one.
What about I guess like a win total for him? Do you think they're over under like 45 plus wins?
Oh, they're over that.
I should have said 50.
They're over that. They had their over under, just a full disclosure. I think they're over under for Vegas. It's changed a little bit, but it was I think it's 48.5. Okay. And I took the over. So I think they're 50. I think they're like a 50-51 win team in that godforsaken conference, which is going to be.
I keep forgetting
crapshoot.
Yeah,
I like their complementary pieces. I think they have more complementary spacing. I think they're good defensively. They just have more two-way guys. They have more depth. They have a more functional, I think, front court. They have more functional wings, and they have a more functional backcourt. Like, I think this is a really solid team with complementary pieces all around and guys who can, to some teams in the league have this problem, but I think they legit have 11 or 12 guys that you got to fit into 8 or 9 spots come April. And like, that's a good problem to have. I mean, they also, I mean, with the new apron rules, it makes it a little bit tough, but like this could be a team that makes like a consolidation trade at the deadline. And the fact that they're even in this position after this time last year and maybe this time 2 years ago, it's a little bit crazy because of like everything that has transpired that transpired over that time. But this team is like, especially if they're like a top 3 seed, top 4 seed, like I think this team isn't going to sit pat. Like they're going to go for it. And I'm interested to see if they make any like not league changing moves, but like moves that puts them over the top.
Yeah.
Because again, they're going to be in the discussion with Denver. They're going to be in the discussion with Phoenix. They're going to be in the discussion with Memphis, Golden State, etc. And so I like this team a lot, and I think this team wins 50 games, 49, 50 games.
All right.
I mean, I don't think that's incredibly bold to say. Like, but I'm also just going off of like what we've seen, and like again, anything can change. Things can change over a given time. Like opening night, if the Lakers lose by 30, they're going to win 30. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, they are playing Denver that first game.
Do you have any like final thoughts or?
I think Lakers are pretty much poised for being above a 7 seed. Let's just say that. I'll say Laker fans enjoy LeBron while you can, because I feel like the clock's ticking. Whether if it's on his career or his tenure with the Lakers, I feel like the clock's ticking. So you got to make the most of it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen when Bronny, if Bronny declares this year, if he declares next, who knows what's going to happen? Like if the Lakers are even able to draft him.
Yeah.
whomever drafts him, LeBron's going to go sign with them or whatever the case is. So yeah, it's almost like it almost feels like a 1-year window, even though I don't know if Bronny declares, but I have no idea. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. I'm just thankful that Bronny's okay.
Yeah,
and that he's
absolutely.
alive and he's well, and he seems to be in, like, I don't know if he's like playing yet. Like I think he might be practicing. I'm not 100% sure, but just I'm glad that he's like okay and well after the heart scare over the summer.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, we're all good. Keep an eye out for the Lakers this year.
Yeah, keep an eye out for the Lakers, man. This is going to be a good team. They're going to be competitive. They're going to be a pain in the butt on some nights to play for opposing teams. But thank y'all for watching this video. Tell me why I'm dumb. Tell me why I'm smart. Like and subscribe. Please go check out vendettasportsmedia.com. We'll be having all those previews up on the YouTube page as well. So please go check all that out. Like, subscribe. I would say give us a 5-star rating, but I don't think that's like a YouTube thing anymore. But anyways, see y'all next time.